Now let's talk more about business emails. I left that part intentionally when we were talking about the major types because we're going to focus on it a lot more now. So, no matter how big or small a business is, all companies need a professional email. I don't care if the company is a startup or has been in the game for a long while, they all need a professional email. Now, what is a professional email? So, a professional email is a business email address that uses the company's domain name. So, think of if we're going to be talking about AOU, it's at arabou.edu.sa. Okay, and then usually if it's a if it's an employee's name or an email, it would be their name and then at and then the company's domain name. In this case, arabou.edu.sa. Okay, it gives it a more professional look, it gives it credibility, and it makes the company look legitimate. So, in a nutshell, a business email is a custom email address that uses the company's email name. Okay. When you compare it to a private email, it just looks a lot better, more professional, and more credible. Okay. Again, one of the last things, and it's actually quite important, is brand awareness. You see, when most employees have the same email, with the difference being the email, it builds brand awareness because now it's a lot easier to remember your email as an employee instead of having to memorize every single person's private or personal email instead. Okay. Now let's talk about the common do's and don'ts when it comes to business emails and writing them in general. You see, when you're writing an email or when you're chatting in general, it doesn't even have to be an email, just chatting, there's no body language or tone of voice to account for any miscommunication. So, for example, I'm talking to you right now. You can see my face, you can see my body. I'm talking, you can hear my tone. But when it comes to texting, 90% of that is nonverbal. So you can't really give your point of view without sounding cold or sounding mean in a way. So you have to be very careful with how you choose your words. So, like we said, employees are supposed to be very cautious when sending and receiving emails, especially in a business setting, because they could come off the wrong way very quickly. Here are some of the do's and don'ts. Let's start with the do's. So, do include a heading in the subject line with the number of, or actually, no, let me repeat that. So, we have something called the subject line, and I will talk more about this later right here. So the subject line is the subject of the email. Basically, it's a line that gives the person that's about to read your email an idea of what the email is going to be about and whether it's important right now or not. So make sure that it is very important and that it is significant. Make sure that it's something that makes sense and it is something that has to do with your email and not just something that makes no sense, or worse, just an empty subject line. Okay? Do make the subject line meaningful. A hi or hello is not going to cut it, guys. Make sure that you're actually talking about, well, not talking, just give a brief idea of what your message in the email is going to be based on. Okay? So a hi or hello is a big no no when it comes to a subject line. Do personalize your message to the recipient. Again, you don't want to come off as informal. So give a message or in the message, make sure that you at the very least give a personal greeting. You know, I don't want to I don't want my emails coming in like a robot has sent them to me. I want it to be human, so personalize them to the person that you're going to be sending it to. So it's something as simple as "Dear Miss Jones" or "Hey, hi Jack." Things like that are very important because failure to do so makes you come off as someone that is mean and cold. Do account for tone. When you communicate in person, more than 90% of your message is nonverbal. So, like we said, there's no body language, there's no tone. I can't hear you when it's an email. So, make sure that you choose your words very carefully and thoughtfully as to not appear someone that doesn't care or is cold. Do look at your email address and determine how it represents you. This is more so aimed at people that talk to employees. So when you're looking for jobs, for example, or if you're a college student and you're using your private email talk to a professor. Some people have funny email names, and that's okay. What you do with your own email in your free time is none of anybody's business. But if you're using it to contact employers and professors, it's probably a good idea to use a different email than Soccer Guy 8, for example, or Video Game Destroyer or anything like that. So make sure that your name is professional for professional settings. Right. Now let's talk about some of the don'ts. Don't forget to check for spelling and grammar. Use proper capitalization, punctuation, and usage. This is very, very important. It doesn't matter what your email looks like. You could have the best format possible, but if your grammar is wrong, if you have spelling mistakes all over the place, then no one will take you seriously. Make sure that your grammar and spelling are on point so people can take you seriously and to look professional as a person. Don't write the great American novel. Again, you're not going to be writing a book in an email. An email is intended for very brief communication. Keep your message short, make it make sense, and just use a few brief paragraphs and send it. No need to overcomplicate things. Don't forward email without permission. Again, this is very important. You see, if I send you an email or if you send me an email, I would probably not like it to be forwarded unless I state otherwise. If you don't take consent from someone and you end up forwarding the email, then that is a violation of confidential information. And then that information is public. And hey, guess what? You now have a problem with the person that sent you the email and the people that are probably going to be involved later on. So it's just like texting. You would not want to screenshot someone's private text with you. So don't do it in an email. Again, ask for permission if you want to forward an email. Don't reply to everybody or reply to all unless you're sending a response appropriate for group viewing. Okay, let me give you an example here. So say a student tags everybody at an institution, right? Let's say uni, for example, or a university. So they tag everybody and it's something related to IT, right? And they tagged the Department of Finance and different professors that have nothing to do with IT. You replying to all means that this whole convo is now going to be viewed by everybody that doesn't really want the email. It is a waste of resources and it is a waste of time for everyone that doesn't need to see your reply to said email. Okay, so make sure that if you want to reply to all, make sure that your response is actually appropriate for everybody in the reply to all section. Okay, next we have don't fill in the to line until you've written and proof edited your message. So, you know, in an email, when you write to and then you write the person's email, or it just shows that it's ready to send it to the person that you want to send it to, well, you shouldn't do that until you make sure that your email is grammatically correct. Make sure that you've used the appropriate tone. You've edited your message for any other errors that might have come up. Because if you add to and then the person before even starting the email, and then you end up sending the email before you're done, I'm guessing you know what happens. It looks very unprofessional. It comes off as, you know, you're someone that doesn't know what they're doing. So again, you can avoid all that by simply writing everything about your email first and then finally adding that person's email. Don't think that no one but the intended recipient will see your email. Now, this is the other side of the spectrum. Remember when we said don't forward email without permission? Well, some people are going to forward your email anyway. It's just, I guess, part of life. So make sure that when replying to emails, and let's say something, there's a heated discussion, for example, make sure you don't use vulgar messages. Uh, don't seem cold or mean. Don't come off in a way that you wouldn't want to be seen in public. So at the end of the day, although most people will not forward your message or email without permission, make sure that you never send stuff that you would not want to be seen in public.